What is up everyone? I hope we're all managing well. I'm Ari Lynette, and I'm finally getting rid of some stuff, yay! Over the past year or so, I've been learning a lot about how I use makeup nowadays compared to how I used it like 2 years ago. It changes over time, and obviously that happens for everyone, but it's especially been noticeable for me because I've been doing my Duping the Design series on my Instagram. And that's really taught me which palettes I go for, which palettes I find the most useful, which palettes I enjoy the formula of the most, and which ones I don't really use, and I don't really like using. I've also, as you might have noticed, done a bit of a bedroom refurbishment. It happened quite a while ago, but I have been gone a while. But let's not worry about that for now. But I recently moved my entire makeup collection from like a chest of drawers and some boxes on the top to a makeup card, which looks really lovely. And it's also helped me figure out which makeup I go for, which makeup I want to have out. It's been really good in that respect. So I thought now is a great time to do some decluttering. This is mostly going to be eyeshadow palettes, but there's also going to be a couple of other bits and pieces that I might lump in. Not all of it's that relevant, so I'll only talk about the stuff that I really have something to say on. Before I get into this, I've got to put on some disclaimers. Please do not ask me to give you anything that's being decluttered today. Just don't do it, okay? I have my own plans for where all of this stuff is going. My sister's getting first dibs, my mum's probably gonna grab a few things, and then probably Depop, I don't know. But please don't ask for it. Don't be that person that does that and looks really creepy. Yeah, let me tell you, none of us like it. You just look like you're fishing for free stuff, and it never works, so don't do it. The second one is that if I am decluttering something today, it is based solely on my personal experience, and it is not in any way to slander your taste. If one of these products works for you, that is awesome. That more power to you. But it just happens that it didn't work for me. My experiences are not universal, but also neither are yours. At the end of the day, we just need to do what works for us. And if something isn't working, we need to change it. So that is what I'm doing. These are just products. Everyone has different attachments to different products. It just happens that I'm not attached to these products. Anyway, be respectful, enjoy the video, this is just for fun. Also, if you see me changing how I look throughout this video, no you didn't. It's not like I'm filming this over several days or something. Thanks a lot, iCloud storage. No, I am not paying for extra. Enough of the disclaimers. Let's get on to what I'm actually decluttering. So, if you want to see the things that I'm decluttering, don't move a muscle. First up, we're gonna start with some Colourpop items. In my last order, I bought 3 of the 9-pan monochromatic palettes. One of them was the Blowing Smoke palette, which I really liked, and the other 2 were palettes I was kind of unsure of. The Mint to Be palette and the Lilac You A Lot palette. And I'm getting rid of both. The one out of the 2 that I was actually hesitating the most on was Lilac You A Lot, because initially this was the one I was most disappointed with. My problem with this palette is that while the sum of the palette is underwhelming, there are certain parts that I feel like I got good use out of and I enjoyed using. The mattes in here, they do nothing for me. This barely shows up, that barely shows up, this barely shows up. This is powdery to the point of where you look at it, it'll explode. And this one's fine. This is the Token Fine Ranger. What I actually really enjoyed were these metallics, and honestly, the formula isn't anything special, but I just found them useful because they filled gaps in my collection. However, just out of curiosity, I took a look through my collection of other palettes to see if I had shades to dupe them. And I found shade dupes for every single one of them. And a lot of them are better formulas than this one. Trainwreck is just a less sparkly Prue from Lunar Beauty Moonspell. Wake Me is like a less sparkly Earthshine from Colourpop It's My Pleasure. It made me realise I don't need to hold on to this. Like, these metallics are useful, but if I have them in other palettes, why do I need to keep this? If I don't even enjoy the palette that much. So, I am letting it go. Also, I recently got the Violet palette from Glam Shop, and it's way better than this. Like, I prefer the formula, the metallics are much more impressive. There's a shade that's like this in there, and it performs way better. And it also has the shade Crystal, which is one of my favourite metallics of all time. So, yeah, case closed. As for Mint to Be, the reason for this is completely different. Lilac You A Lot for me is a underwhelming sum with some interesting parts. For Mint to Be, the sum and the parts are kind of just both as bland as each other. I got interested in this palette from a couple of people on Instagram. that were using it and seemed to really like it, and I really should have made more of an effort to think about whether I wanted this instead of just going for it in my order. This is a mint palette that gives you very similar looks, and I get that that's kind of in its brief. And I know that there are variations, as subtle as they may be, but I don't know, it's just all the same to me, and I don't particularly like the way I look in mint looks. Like, they're okay, but I'm not going to keep a palette that only really makes one type of look that I'm not really into that much. I do like some of these like icier green shades in here, but if I'm that desperate, I could just look for one of the shades in my existing palettes, or if I'm really desperate, look for an affordable single. There's really no point to me keeping this and letting it collect dust, because there's probably someone out there that really does like mint looks and really could get use out of this. That isn't me. So this one's on its way out too. Now I feel like I have the monochromatic palettes from Colourpop that I actually really enjoy, even though I still have 7 of them, but it's much more concise and it makes me a lot happier. Now I'm gonna quickly go through this Winging It blush and highlight duo. This has been discontinued for a while, and then they brought these out as singles, and then they discontinued those as well because Colourpop discontinues everything vaguely good. It's got this really gorgeous outer sleeve packaging, and then you open it up, some really cool purple shades. The only problem is that I don't use them because I don't think they look very good on me. Like, these blushes in theory, everything. But in practice, I don't think I look very good in them. Part of me wants to keep it for the packaging and the cool shades and the purple and the vibes. But I know in my heart I'm not gonna use this. And also, my sister wanted this blush duo, and then she wanted the shades when they came out as singles, and now there isn't really a way for her to get them. So I feel like she would value having this far more than I would. So, much as I love your packaging, this is gonna go too, but you will not be forgotten. Different day, different outfit, different makeup, same old bullshit. And my skin looks worse. This is not how I wanted it to go, but life deals you cards. Anyway, let's get on to the next few items that I'm decluttering. So the first one is this palette. This is, I got this from TK Maxx. This is the e.l.f. Matte for Matte Jewel Pop palette. I love this colour scheme. It is just, it's an A+ colour scheme for me, as far as all matte palettes go. However, something about this formula just did not click for me. I found it quite difficult to work with, especially as you go further down the palette. I found it more challenging than fun, and I didn't really get much fulfillment out of it. And it's a shame because these colours are really nice. Like, you've got a really nice mustard, you've got the berries, the purple, the blue, the green. But do you know what's interesting? I like these pops of colours a lot, so I tend to buy palettes that have these pops of colours in. So I already have these colours in other palettes. Isn't that marvellous? So because I have shades like this, I have mustards, I have greens, I have purples, that makes this palette pretty redundant, so why not pass it along? And it's in a really good condition. It's pretty much, like, obviously it's a little bit used, but it's in a nice condition, so someone can get a lot of good use out of this. And I didn't hate it. However, let's get on to this other e.l.f. palette. This is the e.l.f. Bite Size palette. This is Acai You. Gotta have my Jessica Wilde insight there.
Very acai. I love this drink.
So this is one of the Bite Size palettes. I got 2 of these one day on impulse. The green one I'm keeping for now. That one's solid. I think that's a good palette. This one, however, this like purpley blue one, trash! These darker shades are okay, but I don't really do anything with them, really. They just don't do anything for me. And then this one shade that does do something for me, looks gorgeous in the pan, but when you put it on your eyes, it performs like arse. It's really disappointing and upsetting, and it doesn't sit right with my spirit, and I don't want that kind of disappointing energy. Especially with a colour I like. And I actually do have a few of those colours in other palettes from other brands that do work, so...
No, I'm gonna pass on that one.
So in this video, I'm not actually just going to do palettes. I'm gonna also touch on a couple of other products. So let's go over these 2 blushes. These are the Lime Crime Software blushes. Now I got these on like mega super clearance from the Lime Crime website when I did an order from them. That's when I got my Squash and Thistle when they brought them out on my birthday. So I got these as like a super mega clearance. They were like $5 maybe, and this packaging is beautiful, but the product wise, I can see why it was on sale for that low. Bad.
Oh, very bad! Very, very bad.
Charging $22 for these shades, I think, could classify as some kind of war crime. I'm not saying that for every single one of the shades. Like, I know that some of the deeper and brighter shades have gotten better reviews from people, but these two just... no. So, if you didn't know, this is like a cream to powder kind of blush formula. Very waxy, and it's hard to get like really good payoff from these. It takes quite a lot of build up to get some kind of tangible payoff on the old cheeks, and I've got a marshmallow face, so I'm like the easiest person to get pigment on the face, and that does not bode well for anyone deeper. So the first one is this shade called Download, and this is like a light orange, and this barely shows up on my face. It's like a whisper of pigment. It's a lot of hassle to get something tangible. The second one I wanted to play around with a little more is this one. This one is Megabyte. This is an electric lime. Of course I was going to get it because it's like one of my favourite colours in makeup. I thought this would have potential as a highlighter, but again, it just takes a lot to build up and the result isn't that good. So like, as much as I like the prospect of having a highlighter this colour, I'm probably just going to wait for a highlighter in like a powder form that is this colour and actually works well for me. So as much as I like looking at these, and as much as Lime Crime killed the packaging, if it's one thing that Lime Crime does well, it's the packaging on pretty much anything they do. But the formula just isn't that good, so I'm going to be passing them along. So back to palettes. This next one is from Revolution. This is the Revolution and Kami Make Magic palette. I really loved the first Kami palette. That was like something that I would always use. And I don't use it as much nowadays, but I still really like it. But this one, the only thing I think they really improved on, other than this packaging, which I think is gorgeous, and I think is like way above the first, are these... In my notes I've called them central shades, but they're clearly at the top. So let's just call them top shades, but then they'd be confused with topper shades, and these are not topper shades. I think I just put my finger in one. Don't ever ask me to improv. Like, these central metallic shades are really nice, but I never go for them, and even when I try and go for them, I don't have the enthusiasm to go for them. I hope I'm conveying that in a sensible way. Like, I don't think I ever will, like, go into the palette for them, and I haven't historically, so it doesn't bode well for the future. And chances are I have dupes for most of those shades in other palettes, or in my little blossoming collection of singles, which I'm really having fun with. And then the rest of the shades, these, like, lower down, smaller shades, they're fine. Like, these shades in this quad here, I like this mustard and this camel green. I'm pretty sure I actually wore this camel green as a liner to a wedding. That was fun. But again, mustard and camel green, pops of colour that I buy a lot of, and I have in other palettes. Just like the e.l.f. palette, like I have those pops in other palettes, so I can just use them there and not keep this. And then some of these other shades and the metallics here are just kinda not bad, but lackluster, certainly. I am gonna send this one on, but I think that there's potential for this to be really useful for someone. Just not me. So I will send it on its way, and I wish it fair travels. Time to cover some liquid lipsticks now. So here is the Bitches Brew Trio from the Collective Cosmetics, which is an indie brand that I believe is based in the US and the UK. Like, I think they have an owner from each. So I really wanted to try this brand, and I really wanted to try this trio of colours. Now I should probably note that I am actually keeping one of these. I'm keeping this one, Whiskey Glare. Also, I've put the labels on them because this component doesn't have any labels for the shade names. So I put them on myself. But Whiskey Glare I'm keeping. It's these two shades I want to talk about. We have Stirring the Pot and Ash Wednesday. These have a little bit of a strange smell. The pigmentation isn't the best, but they're ultimately workable, I think. And they have some nice unique undertones. This is more of like a pooey camo, which I like in a lipstick personally. And then this is a really nice blue-grey. There's just one little problem with them. Whenever I put on one of these two shades, I get... some might call it a harsh tingle. I would personally call it a burn. However you put it, I don't like it. I do not like it at all. It's not one of those like fun sensations like the Colourpop So Juicy glosses. It's like one of those sensations where you feel like your lipstick might be trying to kill you or slightly dismember you. It makes my lips numb and tingly, but not like a good tingle, like a you in danger tingle. What I'm saying is that these lipsticks make me really uncomfortable and I can barely last 10 minutes in them before reaching for my makeup eraser. And what's weird is that these two have this feeling, but this one doesn't. This one's completely normal. Whiskey Glare, gorgeous shade, a really nice like orange with like a little bit of a honey undertone. Really great formula. It's pigmented, it has a nice coverage, it's comfortable, and it doesn't tingle like a mofo. So I'm gonna keep this one for the meantime, though I will be keeping an eye on it to see if it does that thing. It sucks to have to declutter these other two, especially like Ash Wednesday is a gorgeous tone, but like I don't want to keep lipsticks that hurt me to wear. And as much as I want to keep supporting smaller brands, and I think that it's important that we uplift smaller brands, maybe I should focus on maybe the highlighters or their eyeshadow formula instead of these liquid lipsticks. So yeah, I think I'm going to be staying away from the liquid lipstick formula. I draw the line at lipsticks that cause me physical pain. And I think you probably should too. Next up we have this. This is the Beauty Bay Pastels palette. When this launched, me and my sister were so excited about it, and we decided to both get it on launch day, and why do I ever buy anything on launch day, you fool? I don't think that this is completely unsalvageable as a palette. I know there are some people who really hate it. For me, this palette is fine for little pops, and maybe blending out other shades, which usually I just use my blending brush to do on its own. But it's not a palette where I've been able to confidently make solid looks from it, and that's a big factor in me keeping and using palettes. This kind of like super light wishy-washy colour scheme it just doesn't work for me, and I really should have waited for reviews before buying this. I do have another Beauty Bay palette that I really like, which is the 16 Brights palette. I love that and I'm keeping that. But this one just didn't really work for me. Maybe I should wait to buy things after launch day, when reviews are out. Go figure. The next palette's probably not going to be that surprising to some people, but I'm finally letting go of my Morphe 35M. I want to start with the positives about this palette. This colour scheme is excellent. Like, this is the best colour scheme that Morphe has probably ever come up with. This deserves genuine praise in that aspect. But this formula, I said it in my palette collection video, and I'll say it again, it's just fine, and I never get drawn towards it. But when I reorganized my palettes into the cart, I actually put this back into my collection, like out of the declutter box and into my main palette area, because I wanted to give it another chance, and I was like, maybe I was too harsh on it, maybe I should like give it more of a chance, considering I do like the colour scheme. And while I did use it a few more times and it was okay, I found that I was using it because I felt like I had to, rather than because I actually wanted to. It was more like, I have to prove that I can give this another chance than I actually really want to use this palette and get more use out of it. So yeah, it turns out I didn't really have the passion to use it. I do want to say, don't get me wrong, I don't think that this palette sucks by any means, unlike the liquid lipstick formula, which is where moisture goes to die. But I think it's time to move it along, and it's in a great condition, and it's still got its shade name sheet. So I'm going to be passing it along. Not to my sister though, because she already has this palette. And also the Beauty Bay Pastels palette. Now allow me to go on a green liquid lipstick tangent for a minute. So these first three are from V Cosmetics, which is a brand that I really love. I have one of the eyeshadow palettes that I enjoy. There's this highlighter I got from them. I don't think they make it anymore, but it's like exceptional. And I also have the yellow liquid lipstick, which is called Be Kind. Like, that's a great liquid lipstick. Good pigmentation, it doesn't feel too heavy, it doesn't feel too gummy, it's nice. I like it a lot. I wear it quite a lot because it's good. So with that logic, when they were having a sale on their green liquid lipsticks, I decided to get some of them. It was like a 420 promotion. So it's these shades. We have ZombieCon, we have Rebirth, and we have 420. The pigmentation on these is decent, but the formula is just, it's gummy. That's like the best way I can describe it, to have like the most like visceral visualization of it. It's gummy. I really hate that feeling on my lips, and it's nothing like the yellow liquid lipstick, which doesn't really have that problem. These just felt like invasive species, and that's something I really don't like when it comes to liquid lipsticks. So while the yellow one I recommend, these three just didn't work for me, so I will be passing them along. But that isn't where the story ends as far as green liquid lipsticks go. I also have the Too Faced Melted Matte in Wicked, and I went all the way to Liverpool for this, so yeah, I'm not exactly happy that this is in the declutter pile. However, this takes quite a bit to build up, and of course as you build up more of it, you realise the problem with the formula, It's the same thing. It's the gumminess. I don't know if this shade has like the same issue as like the other melted matte shades because I haven't tried them. At this point I probably never will. Who knows? Mysteries of life. Something I've also realised with these lipsticks is that I feel like I'm drifting away ever so slightly from like bright, colourful lipsticks. Like I feel like I'm just not aiming towards them. I remember at the start of my channel I really wanted to have more of those colourful colours so I wasn't just wearing nudes all the time. And then I realised that I look the best in the nude lipsticks and like the browns, and also I feel better about myself when I wear those colours. So what do you know? I tend to not go for these like brighter coloured ones. Still a few, but not as much as I used to. I tend to use these colours because I feel like it'll work for a look rather than I genuinely want to wear this lipstick colour. And I think it's fine for me to admit that, and it's fine to admit that change. And especially if a formula doesn't gel well with me, there isn't any point of keeping these around, so off they go. The penultimate palette is actually kind of a shocker because I've gotten quite a bit of use out of this, but I've decided to declutter my Be Perfect Carnival XL palette. And no, it's not because Be Perfect started selling Jeffree Star, even though that is a compelling reason. I made this decision completely separate from all of that stuff. I started realizing that even though this palette is really useful for duping the design and as like a really good base to start with, and like it covers a lot of ground because like it's huge. It's good for that purpose, but this world-renowned best of the best formula that everyone raves about, I don't think it's actually that good. Don't get me wrong, some of these shades I really love, like Temptation down here is a really good shade. Soft Spot I really enjoy. Fortune, this gold. My favourite one is actually this highlighter shade, Fair Play. Part of me wants to keep this palette just for this highlighter shade, but I don't do stuff like that as much as I might like to. But a lot of these like reddy, orangey, pink shades just feel very dry and lackluster. They don't really do that much for me. This lime green isn't really too good. And surprisingly, the neutrals, which I was quite excited to use, you know, neutrals, that thing that a lot of companies probably will have mastered by this point. Yeah, they're kind of just a bit drab in terms of the formula. And I never really admitted to myself these feelings about the palette maybe not being as good as I thought it would be until I saw my friend Jazz on Instagram. She got the palette and had very similar thoughts to me. And that was like a moment of legitimizing my feelings and being like, okay, that's fine. I'm not happy with this formula and maybe I should think about letting this go. So as much as like this light blue tempts me and obviously this highlighter really tempts me, I feel like it's a good time to let this one go. Thank you for your service, but it's just not working out. Ooh, the final palette I'm decluttering. This is gonna be a spicy one. I'm very sorry. I really wanted to like this palette. I've had my eye on the Sugar Pill Fun Size palette for a while, and hearing a lot of people around me, a lot of people I trust, say that this is amazing, it's got a great formula, you're gonna love it, it's gonna be like a top 5 palette. And I was like, yeah, I want to try it. Now, me and Sugar Pill eyeshadows have a bit of a touch and go relationship. I've had their pro pans. Something I noticed is that some of the shades were really great, like Kimchi, Mochi, Acid Berry, just excellent quality. And then some of them were pretty dry and lackluster and barely had any good pigment, like Suburbia, which I was very surprised by. I've had people really love that shade. I put that down to like a batching issue, and to be honest, I still put that down to a batching issue. That's still what I think it was. So I was a little apprehensive, but I was like, no, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be great. I had high expectations, and because I had high expectations, naturally, things didn't go so well, did they? Maybe Gabby Hanna was right, and then I should manage my expectations. Don't get me wrong, some of these shadows are great, like Cheat Code up here, absolute home run of a shade. But some of these just did not work for me. Like this periwinkle was pretty sheer and didn't really do much at all, even if I tried to build it up. Like I have periwinkles from Lethal and BH that work really well. And even though I know that like periwinkles are a bit of a challenging formula, I have ones that work. So I feel like it's best that I just stick with those. But also this orange down here, high score, was just really paltry. I'd build it up and build it up and build it up and it just wasn't working out. It wasn't getting, like I know it's supposed to be like a pastel, but it wasn't even giving like a convincingly good pastel. When I was doing my Duping the Design series, I would wince when I'd get a dupe in here. Like I actively did not want to include this palette in my dupes. And if that's not a sign of needing to declutter it, then I don't really know what is. I know some of my makeup acquaintances are probably gonna flame me for this opinion, but like, that's okay. That's fine. Some people really love this palette and that's great for them. To paraphrase me from earlier on in this video, if I declutter something you really love, that's not an attack on you. It's just because it isn't working for me, and I want everything in my collection to work for me, and in this case, it just didn't work out, and that's fine. This will probably go to someone who really does love it, and that's everything noteworthy I have to mention in terms of products. There are a few other things that I've been like decluttering and like using up, but this is like the relevant stuff. Some of the stuff that's just been retired from my collection, there's not much law to it, it's just very simple. It feels really great being able to declutter my products and pare down my collection to something a little bit more realistic to me, rather than just keeping up with the makeup community Joneses. Before I sign off, I want to call back to something I said earlier on in the video. At the end of the day, we just need to do what works for us. And if something isn't working, we need to change it. I did not mean this quote to be so applicable to my current situation, but I guess that's what improv does. The one time I improvise a line, it actually works. Ain't that neat? The whole significance of that quote is that it actually applies to my greater situation pretty eerily. Things haven't been working, and something I need to do is change things so I can make things better. It's really important I actually take that advice. So what I'm trying to say is this is gonna be my last beauty video on this channel. Now, I've had some great memories on this channel, and I've really enjoyed getting to make videos, getting to meet a lot of people. It's been so much fun, and it's been really fulfilling. But this feeling has been hanging over my head for too long. Far too long. More than a year at least. And that's considering that I'm filming this last portion in 2022, and I filmed a lot of the earlier portions of this video in 2021. And it's getting to this point where I can't not address it. Making beauty content like this isn't really what I want to do anymore. And I feel like now I'm at peace with that. And now I can actually put forth a proper statement about it. And I need to stop putting pressure on myself for this to be the only thing I do, or to be the thing I do, period. Like, I want to make other videos. In an ideal world, I'd love to do that, but the fact is, if I have this channel as it is now and have the status quo be what it is, I'm never gonna take that jump. I'm always gonna be in this limbo stage, which just isn't good for me. A lot of the stuff I'm interested in making is in different areas, and I don't know how confident I am in making a jump until I actually talk about it. One thing I've learned from doing my podcast is that I really do enjoy talking about other subjects. Like, there's a lot of things that I find fulfilling nowadays, and I kind of want to open up possibilities to things like that on this channel, if I even want to make videos in the future. I'm not completely sure on that yet, but I think it's best that I at least allow for that to be an avenue I can take, hence why I'm making this video and capping off this little era of my life. Like, firmly doing that. And that means we have reached a crossroads. If you don't want to watch, like, that other content, that's completely fine. Like, first of all, I can't force you to do it, and second of all, you've got to do what's best for your subscription feed. God knows I'd think the same thing. So I will not hold that against you at all. But as I said before, this limbo stage has been having a pretty bad effect on me. I've kind of been in this, like, nothing's really been moving for me, and I need to start getting things moving again. So I'm sawing down the pigeonhole, and algorithm be damned, I'm gonna do whatever I want, even if that's absolutely nothing. Either of those outcomes I will be fine with. So that's all for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed seeing what I was decluttering. As always, please make sure that you're taking measures to stay safe in this pandemic that we are still in. Yes, we're still in the pandemic. Please don't forget that. And also, please don't forget Black Lives Matter, always. Thank you for the love, thank you for the support, thank you for everything, every like, comment, subscription, all of that. Thank you. Even if this is the last video of mine you'll ever watch, I hope you had a good time watching it. And I hope that you have a great whatever. Let's just leave it very open-ended and vague, like I'm doing right now. Lots of love. Bye. And yes, the porg is still here. Some things never change.